Audio Jungle.
Panel remove fit job requirement after conversations. No documentation exists, stated Maurice Dixon. The government has stated for the first time that there is no documentation explaining why the law enforcement requirement was dropped from the job description for the top post at the Financial Investigations Division Fed. Information Minister Dr. Dina Maurice Dixon revealed Tuesday that the change resulted from conversations within the interview panel. The Attorney General Chamber, responding to a Glean Access of Information ATI request on June 27, disclosed only 3 documents and stated that other official documents that were identified as relating to the request are exempted and will therefore not be disclosed. Solicitor General Marlene did not take any claim that any documents were non-existent. Instead, she said they were exempted under Section 17b1 and 22 of the ATI law. Those sections relate to breaches of confidence and unreasonable disclosure of personal information respectively. However, at Tuesday's news conference, Maurice Dixon said the decision to drop the requirement was made through discussions, raising questions about the authority of the panel to change Government of Jamaica job requirements. There are also questions about why the Office of the Services Commission (OSC), to whom the ATI request was sent, did not disclose the reason she gave earlier. The OSC led the recruitment process. So what I have said today is conversation that would have taken place as part of the interview process. That's not a document, so that cannot be provided under an ATI request. Her comment is the first public suggestion from any senior government official that no formal record was created to support the decision to move the requirement for a law enforcement experience. There is nothing to hide in relation to that selection process, Maurice Dixon declared, amid mounting questions and pressure from major business and civil society groups. She disclosed that after retired Deputy Commissioner of Police Fitzbailey declined the offer to head the FID on January 21, the panel that had been doing the interviews decided to re-advertise the post to broaden the pool of individuals. And sometimes they may change the ad trying to get a broader pool of persons to be interested, and this is actually what happened there, and so the ad was changed to get more people, she explained. The panel's decision resulted in the removal of a minimum requirement for candidates to have 12 years law enforcement experience, including 5 years as a senior. No, that didn't seem controversial to the team before. The criterion in relation to law enforcement experience was not one that was there from the beginning, and if you look at those who had headed the FID, they had not had law enforcement experience except for one, Maurice Dixon noted. She noted that the longest-serving head did not have specific law enforcement experience, arguing that the panel believed the removal of the criterion would allow for more applicants. That move cleared the path for the appointment of Chartered Accountant Dennis on June 2nd under a 2-year contract. He was one of 4 shortlisted in the short run, with a top score of 87.6%, Maurice Dixon confirmed. The FID, a key financial crimes agency, is central to Jamaica's anti-corruption and anti-money laundering enforcement. The law enforcement requirement was included in the November 2024 advertisement, but not included in the advertisement of January 2025, 2 years after Bailey declined the offer. The Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, the MSME Alliance, and the National Integrity Action have all called for full disclosure following the denial of the ATI request. Maurice Dixon did not say whether the Minister of Finance under the FID falls, approve, or even knew of the change, nor did she identify who ultimately authorized the final decision. Despite the government's insistence that there is nothing that has been hidden, it remains unclear how an interview panel, normally tasked with assessment and recommendation, had the authority to alter a minimum requirement without documental approval. While the process for changing job requirements remains unclear, it emerged in a recent case that the National Land Agency had to seek permission from the Ministry of Finance before removing a mandatory requirement for a senior post. In an ATI response in May 2024, the NLA disclosed a letter it sent to the ministry noting that it was on the basis of no objection from the ministry that it had advertised the position without the requirement listed as mandatory. Maurice Dixon said on Tuesday that a formal statement will be released by the Minister of Finance to provide further details on the FID matter, but none has been made up to the time of publication. No jail time for now. Disappointed with the sentence handed down to 3 cops found guilty of manslaughter in connection with her son Merdine's death, Mercy Fraser on Tuesday said she intends to sue the state. I just feel disappointed at the moment. Not that I want them to go to prison for anything, but I'm expecting more from the state to say, yeah, that's a life. Mario wasn't a bad man or anything. It's a life and a mistake. Growing up in school, we get punishment for whatever we do wrong, whether we do it right or wrong. I just feel disappointed, she told reporters outside the court building. I can't tell you much more about that. It's just a plan to, yes, sue the state, she said when asked about more details. Corporal Elaine Stewart, as well as constables Marlon Grant and Julian Cleveland, appeared before the Westmoreland Circuit Court for sentencing Tuesday after being convicted in May of manslaughter and misconduct in public office. Justice Courtney Day sentenced Stewart, who had an additional conviction of perverting the court of justice, to 5 years in jail. However, her lawyer gave notice of appeal. As a result, she was granted bail pending the legal action. Grant and Cleveland received suspended sentences for 3 years. The sentences came after a marathon summation by Justice Day, which ended after 7 p.m. early in the day proceedings. During the session before lunch, the court was provided with social inquiry and antecedent reports from all 3 cops, as well as an impact statement from Fraser. In the social inquiry report, Stewart's colleague suggested that she can be disagreeable because of the high standards. Grant was described as a respectful, law-abiding, and hard-working individual, and his family appealed to the court for leniency, while Cleveland was described as humble and well-mannered. Meanwhile, the impact statement from Fraser pointed out that her son died at the hands of those who were expected to protect him. She described him as a loving and caring person and said he would always assist her and fix things around the house. Fraser also indicated that her only remaining child, who is now suffering from depression, is living in the United States and has been to Jamaica only once since the incident because of the impact it has on her. The allegations in the case are that Dean was arrested for possession of a ganja spliff and placed in custody, where he was brutally beaten on August 3, 2014. He sustained several injuries to his brain, which left him in a coma. He died 3 days later at Connor Regional Hospital in St. James. It is alleged that the 3 cops were on duty at the police station when Dean was beaten by other inmates. It is further alleged that Stewart instructed that the cell in which the attack took place be cleaned before the arrival of investigators from the Independent Commission of Investigations. Testimonies were heard in the case over 29 days and submission by the Crown, defense lawyer, and Justice Day over 7 days. The case began on March 3rd, but there were several days of interruption and adjournment because of varying reasons. To subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.